chat. Oh my goodness, thank you for subbing. Hi, Max. Moo.
You can do it all. We are doing it all. We're women in STEM now. Annoying face live.
Hi, everyone. I have Pixel on the line. I don't know if you can hear her. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. And
Yeah,
hello
I am on the
again
line
to
because I'm
you.
about to raid everybody over,
Do you know what?
but
Do you
I
know,
feel
I've spent so
I need
much
to
of today
defend some
talking to
girl
you.
dozers.
I've spent so much of today talking to you. I realized this when I was getting ready. I was like,
I know, and it's been the best day, hasn't it?
it's been a great day. I'm just thinking, I went from this morning when I woke up, I thought, because I saw someone made a large language model of themselves, and I was like, oh my God, that would be so good for me and my friends, because then whenever they want me, they could just talk to the large language model version of me, and it wouldn't matter that I never reply or pick up. And then I thought, that's bad, you should pick up. And I picked up all day, and I called you multiple times.
It's true. I know, crazy. It was a bit much. We
It's
definitely don't have to do that tomorrow.
we will.
Well, we gotta get the Patreon special
Oh
episode
yeah,
out,
you've got to bother me about that tomorrow.
I know, because otherwise it will not happen. And did you see how many people have pledged to the Patreon?
No, I don't.
There's like 5 people
Okay, well then I'll make
already.
sure. I will make sure.
It's gotta go out.
Because the Patreon was much better as well. It was crazy how much out of practice we were. And then,
That's what I was telling everyone.
yeah, it was crazy. And I think we have to come up with topic. I can't function without a topic. I can't.
I know. We do need some
I'm not an interesting enough
structure.
person as a person to just freeball it.
Well, you know what's funny? People came in and said it was really interesting. Even if we don't feel like it's interesting, I feel like that's because we know us and other people don't.
Yeah, maybe. Because I was like, God, we need a topic.
Yeah. Well, we kind of did.
I don't even know. Okay, the sheriff just said that he pledged the $50 tier for sneaky words, but I don't remember what our tier rewards are. That's how long it's been.
I know. Apparently, we were dropping sneaky words into
that's right.
the podcast. Remember, we had to have like sneaky things, so we had to sneak into the podcast, and it's just a little sneaky thing. Do you know why?
Because back in the day when I used to go on debate panels, like Prime Kai and stuff, I would do that with my friends that were also debating, like behind the scenes. We would Discord each other and be like, hey, find a way to make cloudy in your next argument. Say the word cloudy. And it would be like just me laughing.
What people don't know is I actually snuck sneaky words into this episode.
You did. That just were there to humiliate me.
But no one will understand them. But I did. I snuck the sneaky words in. So we're kind of already one ahead.
Yeah, see if you can work out at what point. You may not know why, but there is a point where Pixel is making fun of me. Quite correctly. quite pointedly.
And that's why I got in trouble.
Yeah, sometimes you need a hard word.
I don't need any hard words. I need a soft pat on the head.
No, you don't. You need you need
no political violence.
I fear you have you need a hard word. But yes. Okay. Girl Dozer, go and watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. I'm literally leaving.
It's our warm-up round. You don't leave me.
I'm leaving you. I'm leaving you now.
I want to talk about
entertaining on your own.
But I'm scared because it's one of those topics where everyone gets mad at you.
You know what? I believe in you. I know you can do it. And I think people are going to get mad at us anyway. And it doesn't matter.
I can always just delete the stream.
You're like 10 times more informed than the average person.
You know what I've worked out? Being informed does not save you from people hating you.
No, it really doesn't.
They're like,
that's why it doesn't matter.
How could you say that? People are dying. You're like, I'm aware.
People are dying, Kim. And
people are dying.
You're worried about being cancelled on the internet. Kind of shallow. Okay, I'm hanging up and I'll write into you. Okay. I hope you have the best stream ever. And if everybody doesn't subscribe to Girl Dozer, I will cry myself to sleep. And
then I'll have to be giving her more hard words. And please, I
only have so many. And it's so much.
I literally was screaming at her today, like screaming, like my dogs were getting out of their bed.
She did.
Because I was screaming.
But it worked, so oh well.
Yes. Alrighty, well, I love you a lot and sleep tight.
Okay. And yes, okay, goodbye.
Dream of me.
And I've been having really vivid dreams. I don't know if you should wish that upon yourself.
No, I know, but
it was Maddie Healy and Taylor Swift the other night, remember?
But I was also in that dream, and I would just like to be in your dreams once again.
Yeah, I thought you were. I was watching your stream in the background of my sleep time, and you were explaining how people were using AI and Claude to
Which is funny because I wasn't explaining that on
No, you
stream. So
weren't, but in my dream you were.
yeah. No, that's great. It just means I'm super wise. I talked about AI once and the people got upset. So I got to do some learning before I talk about that again.
Oh no. Okay, well, good luck with that.
I've got a hair
Okay,
in my
bye.
Bye, I love you. Bye. Wait, did everyone notice something? I just want to let you know something. Did everyone notice that Pixel didn't say I love you back? Says she's one of my best friends. Doesn't even sign off with an I love you. Very aggressive. Very aggressive. Hi, Adrian. Hi, JD. Hi, Tom. Hi, Autumn. Hi, Seven. Hi, Common Good. Hi, YouTube gang. What's good? We're going to do some news today. We might do some Candace Owens, but what I want to do, if we do watch the Bride of Charlie, if we watch that, I want to actually come up with I want us to develop what we will call the Candace conspiracy heuristic, right? I want us to start to learn what Candace does when she's lying. Well, not lie. I don't know. Maybe Erica Kirk is, I don't know what her claims are about Erica, but maybe she is whatever Candace claims she is. I personally am really into everything Candace has been up to with Charlie in terms of he visits me in dreams. We have he's a time traveler. That I all love. And I'm willing to sign on to that. But I don't know what her claims are about Erica. Oh my goodness! Wow! A totally unexpected raid of 230 people coming to visit the Silly Peaks. Wow! Welcome in. Pixel Smixel, I will take care of your cult. Wow, I'll take care of them. Welcome to the Silly Peaks. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. And a sub? Okay, that makes up for it because if you're still here, Pix, you didn't say I love you at the end of the phone call. Which kind of hurt my feelings because all day, even when we've been yelling at each other, we've finished with I love you. And you didn't finish with I love you this time. And that matters to some of us. Some of us, that matters. But whatever. No big deal. She said she'll get over it? Okay, love you, whatever. She just said love you as well, which isn't the same as I love you, by the way, which is not the same as I love you, but whatever. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, Common Good, that Candace might be taking her inspiration from Paul in the Bible, which I'm into. Like, you're not as close to Jesus as I am. Guys, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over the news for a little bit, okay? Because it's important that we stay informed. It's my job here, to inform you. Then we might be doing Candace Kirk video. Yeah, we might be doing it, okay?
Look at you.
Ah! Holy shit, a brick. I don't know where that came from. What? It's Sheriff 100? It's too much. Holy mother of God. Holy. Guys, the sheriff just granted all these tourists to Silly Peaks moral coin. Congratulations. you've all been gifted goodness. It's pretty crazy. He is single-handedly running the economy of Silly Peaks. um, so there'll be no slander towards the police in this chat, okay? Okay. And just so you know, now that you have Moral Coin, you are officially a holder of a coin that is the first on-chain crypto morality. Very important stuff happening here. Yeah, all cops are beautiful in this chat. We love the sheriff's department. It's very important that you keep your decentralized autonomous moral tokens. If you lose it, suddenly you're bad. Okay, amazing. So, things we have to discuss today. I didn't watch the State of the Union because I don't believe that man has anything useful to say. So we can go through and be like, oh my God, he's lying. He's lying. He's lying. But you guys know he's lying. I know he's lying. Is there a real point to, other than laughing at him, which, as I constantly bring up, is kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't, something you won't ever get on this stream is me being like, wow, that whole administration are idiots, because I really think that performance of idiocy is part of the package so that we don't properly interrogate what they're doing. So you'll never catch me calling him an idiot, even when he's acting like an idiot. Yeah, laughing does normalize him, but it's kind of like, it's not even that it normalizes him, it's that it kind of, it's worse than that. And this is so bad, right? It's like, it keeps us wanting more. We're all kind of consistently waiting for the next stupid thing, the next outrageous thing Trump is going to say, right? So if I were to watch the State of the Union in order for us to be like, let's see what outrageous things Trump said, it's kind of, you know, exactly playing into how this administration continues to thrive, because we're all like, what's going to shock us next? What's the next? It's like, what's going to happen next episode? What's the next stupidest thing he's going to say? And so instead of like actually, because as I say, it's always a full bureaucracy, right? In terms of like, yeah, he's stupid, but there are smart people underneath him. Some of his administration are also stupid, but there are smart people underneath them, right? The Heritage Foundation put in a lot of work to prepping up who they wanted for each role, and that's including policy roles, right? Now, you know, someone like, you've got people who are borderline, someone like Stephen Miller, who, oh, you are always more, okay, just wait, sorry, I just want to pause. Clunt. If you watch my videos, if you watch anything that I do, you will see my audio fucking sucks. I spend time trying to fix it, but I cannot fix it. So if you can fix it, or if you ever want to fix it, totally fine by me, because I suck at that. So that would be extremely appreciated. Yeah, it's Adrian, it's kind of like, what is he not talking about? But it's also like, people are very intelligent at the kind of what I call the shadow man level, right? They're making really important moves. They're writing the policy. They're making the strategic decisions. Yes, it has to go up the line to the administration for them to be like, give the yes and put their name on it. But things are being crafted at the bureaucratic level, and those people are smart. And so I think it's, we still need to take into account Trump and, you know, everyone in his cabinet. Yes, we do. But I'm not all that interested in the shows, the show trials. Like even the Pam Bondi Epstein hearing, it's a show trial, right? So, hi, Astral. It is kind. Is it a psyop? I don't. We've become very accustomed to this. It's a very strange moment to be living in because there's this even I actually see this weird parallel between the administration and Clavicular because both of them are kind of playing a game of WWE in the real world, right? So there's a lot of kayfabe, there's a lot of like, this is my personality and these are my moves and these are my nemesis and this is what I do, and it's outsized, and it's like it's this constant like what will happen next, but a very strict kind of script. And in a sense you've got Clavicular, which is kind of playing Zoolander come to life, but it's not come to life, right? It's like it started with reality television shows. Like it started with The Hills, even though there were reality shows before that. It started with The Hills, where it was this real blending of like, in a way, it's reality. Like these are actually our lives, but some of it is scripted. Because like Lauren Conrad and Brody really dated, but there were also scenes where they were set up to have fights, etc. Lots of it was like scripted. So in a way, it's their real life, but it's also not. And so you see that here too, where some of it's manufactured, but the action might be manufactured, but the consequences are real. They're real. The reason, okay, Genesis of Adrian, we have to put a caveat there because the actual first reality show was The Real World. And there was some hectic stuff that was going on in the real world. But the real world actually was realer. The real world was pretty real. It wasn't all that scripted. Whereas when you get to The Hills, it becomes this kind of hybrid beast, half scripted, half reality. And so, oh, I love John Gans. Yes, I have read When the Clock Broke. It's so good. But yeah. So yeah, I'm not really, for that reason, that's the reason we're not really going to go over the State of the Union, because I'm just not sure if there's any real benefit in it for us, other than feeding into the exact kind of reaction loop that this administration wants. Now, let's have a looky. There is this website I love, and you should all know about it. It's called clone.fyi. Maybe it's not. Now, it is a tech news aggregator, but I find that it tends to aggregate other news as well. Uh-oh, it's bright. I forgot to fix this before I came back to you guys. Oh no. I meant to make things not so bright for you. The narratives were scripted on The Real World through editing. Yeah, but not in the same way that like the actual plot was scripted in The Hills. Okay, let's... Is it just because I changed pages that it just scared me like that? I think so. Just breathe. Everything is fine. Okay. Don't look at the screenshots that I made so that I could make us a little... Okay. Uh-oh. Hang on. Hang on, everybody. I fixed it. Okay. Wait, I like this, okay? Undersecretaries. At the same time, Boasen, Greenland Village idiot, calls Jeff Landry, who takes On its way, some totally random. Okay, wait, hang on. This is a good point that must be addressed in full screen. The annoying thing for the smart people, Wallach, is that at the end of the day, Donald Trump is still the president. And something very annoying to him, something very annoying about him being the president is that he is and this is true, like when we look at Iran, which we will look at, even though you're all going to get mad at me. I don't even care. It's all fine. Okay, we are going to talk about Iran and you're all going to behave and not yell at me. Okay. Donald Trump is a transactional thinker. And so if you've had a long history of being good friends with Donald Trump and racked up favors, then it doesn't really matter to him what his experts think. He's got a friend that he's got to pay back, you know? Yeah, Faith. Oh my God, Faith, thank God you're here. I need to retract my statement about legal research being bad. It kept me up for like an hour. I felt really bad about it. I didn't mean it. I just meant I find it harder to read because normally it relates to the law and lawyers tend to write briefs and it's very different to the academic writing that I'm used to. That doesn't mean legal research is bad, okay? I didn't mean it. I spoke too harshly. Sometimes on stream, we exaggerate. But I just it kept me up and I was like, you're going to have to address that at some point. So I take it back, okay? I rectify, I modify my statement. I weaken it significantly. Legal academic research doesn't personally appeal to me because I'm very rarely researching the law. So why would it? It's like me being like, why would I love a physics paper? You know? The 7,000 vacuums thing is so funny, guys. Let's just quickly look at that because it's funny. A software engineer's earnest effort to steer his new digi-robot vacuum with a video game controller inadvertently granted him a sneak peek into thousands of people's homes. While building his own remote control app, Sami Asdufal reportedly used an AI coding assistant to help reverse engineer how the robot communicated with the digi-remote cloud servers. But he soon discovered that the same credentials that allowed him to see and control his own device also provided access to live camera feeds, microphone audios, maps, and status data for nearly 7,000 other vacuums across 24 countries. The back-end security bug effectively exposed an army of internet-connected robots that, in the wrong hands, could have turned into surveillance tools, all without the owners ever knowing. Now, guys, actually, let me see if I can just find this. Sorry, back to my face for a second. Because there's a piece that I'm working on. There is a big piece I'm working on at climate change, but I'm waiting for the window of opportunity to arrive, okay? Which is because I want it to hit at a time where people will actually care about it. But I'm also working on this other piece, and there's some very scary EOs. Is it this one? No. Okay, an EO came out and I haven't saved it here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so sustaining select efforts to strengthen the nation's cybersecurity. It was an EO that came out to change the framework for contractors in terms of what hardware and software they're allowed to use. So the hardware and software they're allowed to use in government agencies if they're contractors or if they work for critical infrastructure like power or transport, right? And part of this EO basically requires agencies have been instructed to convert cybersecurity rules into machine-readable code, meaning rules will be written into the software for automated control. But basically, it is coming out of the Office of Management and Budget, and it's okay. I don't fully have a handle on it yet, but basically it's saying all software and hardware that is used in government, used by contractors, or used by important infrastructure providers has to have this cybersecurity code that is basically has to have a backdoor for the government, right? And the thing is that people who create technology that's going to be used by government workers aren't going to create two of that technology, right? They're not going to create one for the government and one for everyday people. So they'll just write this new code into all of the hardware and software that they produce, which means that technology will both surveil but also enforce. So your phone could just stop working. Your computer could just refuse to load a website. And basically, by 2030, the US government plans to replace the current encryption systems with new ones because they need to resist quantum computers. But it's not good. It's a little bit scary. And I thought about that when I was hearing about these vacuums, because I was like, well, my concern is that like baby monitors, right? Or the Ring camera, which already exposed itself at the Super Bowl, all of these kind of tech that are commonplace in our house will suddenly be used to surveil, and then eventually can be used to just like, everything feels like Minority Report, right? Like just one day you can just suddenly be refused access to things. We already have this law in Australia. ASIO will arrest you for 10 years if you divulge that you're approached and your loved ones. I mean, ASIO, one of the scary national security laws that came out around 2021 was that law that allowed the government to not only hack into your social media in order to read it, right? But allowed them to post as you, allowed them to send messages as you. I thought that, so they could delete, modify, and create as you. I thought that was weird that law didn't get more discussion in Australia. But it's very interesting how Australia, like age verification laws, we are becoming this weird, like semi-safe breeding ground for some overreaching tech laws, because we just don't have a very engaged populace that will fight back against anything. We definitely don't care about privacy laws. Yeah, well, Super Cheetah, I mean, this was the Promise issue. They found they resolved it differently than what I believe is the case. But the Inslaw case, where the government infrastructure technology had a backdoor that was being used by other countries. The reason that the vacuums are a problem, Harvey, is because these for some reason, these fucking vacuums have live camera feeds and microphone audio. So that's the reason these vacuums are a problem. Oh my goodness. I still haven't worked out how to frickin' do anything to do with my frickin' NJ. Thank you so much for gifting the memberships. You're a legend. Wait, why is my activity not synced up to frickin' YouTube? I appreciate you. I'm always having to check the YouTube because I still haven't worked it out. Thank you. I know, but this is saying that it has a live camera feed and microphone audio, which is something I feel your vacuum should tell you when you buy it. Like, this should be on the box, because I don't want a vacuum that has microphone audio. Yeah, Tiggs, it's really scary. Yeah, and with AI coming in and then being like, we want it to be machine readable, I think it's a very scary proposition. Quite frankly, if it picks up all my dog hair, I'm not hiding anything. Watch my floor. This is the problem in Australia, though, Bet. This is the attitude that people have, which is like when it comes to, and this is another one of my like libertarian positions, because everyone always thinks I'm not doing anything wrong. So I don't have a problem with people listening to me. You're not doing anything wrong now, right? You're not doing anything wrong in a situation where laws are reasonable, where there's not an authoritarian government, where but I mean, imagine you live in a country like Iran, which has a very strong and technologically advanced state infrastructure, and there are certain things that the populace have, like, basically they can't enforce hijab, right? They try, but they can't. The people have pushed back too much. But it is a big deal there. There are a lot of laws that you would break. You would break these laws in Iran. And in that case, you may not want the vacuum cleaner to be spying on you. Or you know what? You may not want the vacuum cleaner to be spying on your 15-year-old daughter, because it's not just, the vacuum isn't just spying on you, it's spying on everyone you love. And you have to not only predict that they're not doing something wrong now, you have to predict that they will never do anything wrong in the future. And on top of that, you have to predict that they themselves won't be outlawed, that they themselves won't be looked for by the government, right? Yes, this is the thing, Harvest. Like, they could arrest you for hate speech based on what you're saying in your home, because, and this is, you know, why I get libertarian about domestic terrorism as an idea as well. It's like this idea that you could be cultivating hateful, like, think about how Donald Trump, we went through this a couple of streams ago. Donald Trump is now, oh, thank you so much, Gabby. Hi. Donald Trump is defining, well, congratulations on purchasing Moral Coin, the world's first on-chain crypto morality. Everything you do for the next month will be good. Hell yeah. Donald Trump said that it is now domestic terrorism to advocate against the traditional family. You know? Scary. Because, like, how does that start getting enforced? And if your vacuum is listening to you, which is the craziest thing that anyone has ever had to say, but if your vacuum is listening to you, right, and suddenly you're talking about things that are, you know, you're just having a chat. Maybe you're having a chat about LGBTQI rights, and that's all you're doing. And then suddenly you're inciting terrorism. You're cultivating terroristic attitudes. Remember when Tati the beauty garage door was accessed by a... That's the deepest of laws. Bye, sister. I'm not even kidding. I may just need to dedicate a couple of days, get some of the more techie people in my chat to come and help me to just, like, decentralize and get off things. I really need, I can't even work out how to turn off my fucking OneDrive. And I hate that shit. I don't want anything saved to the OneDrive, because you know what? I don't know where it went. I don't know where it is. It's gone now. Where did it go? I think everything has a fucking microphone. If my vacuum has a microphone, my fridge probably has a microphone. Why does my vacuum have a map? Is it gonna run away? Anyway, instead he shared his findings with The Verge, who quickly contacted DJI to report the flaw. And keep in mind, right, he's hacked into a DJI vacuum. DJI sell a lot of the commercial drones. Like, imagine if someone started hacking into all the commercial drones. Why do I need to speak to my vacuum? Why can't I press a button? Guys, I need techie people. You could access drone. You could also just start up the drones. Yeah, I gotta go back. I'm gonna go do a dumb phone. Okay, I gotta tell you guys. In New York, well, no, not in New York. Okay. In my crowd, which is, of course, the Brooklyn hipster crowd, everyone's on their dumb phones. Now, it's kind of dumb. Let me explain why it's super dumb. Everyone has their dumb phone, and then they have an iPhone that just doesn't have a SIM card in it, so they can use all the apps. So it's kind of pointless. You're kind of defeating the purpose of it. It is all very, like, for the look of it. But maybe I'll go back to a dumb phone. I really do miss my Nokia 7250i with my Von Dutch case and my pink keypad and my light up little dongle that lit up when I got a text message. Hell yeah, Park Slope Unite! I'm not quite fancy enough to be in Park Slope, but I do love it over there. Yeah. So yeah, we're worried about these humanoid models. AI-powered coding tools which make it easier for people with less technical knowledge to exploit. Yeah, he's not even a super techie guy. He used AI coding assistant to help him reverse engineer how the robot communicated to the remote. This is me. I tried to vibe code a website because I thought, how hard could it be? I would say 20% harder than I thought. I think I could have persevered and done it, but it wasn't as easy as I wanted. I got GitHub. I got all these things. I was like, I'm gonna make a website. Fuck it, let's go. I'm gonna make a Moral Coin website with a fake chart so we can track the value of Moral Coin. And I tried with one of those caterpillar graph, whatever those graphs are called, matchstick graphs, but I couldn't make it pretty. And obviously, that's the most important part of the whole website. A good example of this is something that's been, at borders, you can be required to let law enforcement look through your device, and law enforcement have been known to construct unlawful arrest by going through private messages and asking biased questions. Yeah. And the problem is as well, is that they can even see the stuff you deleted. But apparently there's like a lockdown mode on the phone that you can put your phone into, which they can't get through. But the problem is here's the issue. My YouTube channel is called Blonde Politics. If you start doing shit like locking your phone down at the border, you're probably going to get into trouble at the border. Like, it's kind of, there's no real way to win because if you don't comply, that's kind of, you're automatically seen as guilty. And this may not matter so much if you're a US citizen, but if you're not a US citizen, then you won't be let in. From what I've heard, what people are doing is taking a second phone and hiding their original, like maybe packing their normal phone or not taking their normal phone and taking like a clean phone with them. Hashlander, I know. I have tried at times to remove it's a real problem for me because I'm kind of keep coming back to full screen, but you'll get it. I'm in two kind of opposing situations. One is I need to not be connected to what I say online for reasons that you can work out. The other one is that in order to grow as an online commentator, I need to be highly linked So I kind of am in this limbo phase where I can't really advertise what I'm doing on any of my other socials. I can't really say my political opinion on things like X. I can't really talk about politics on anything where I feel that it has like a strong staying power. And so I can't really super grow. And unfortunately, I connected everything to my real name when everything was happy and good. When things were happy and good. And now they're no longer that, and I don't know what to do about it. I know, Gamby, you did. But the problem is that I also wanted people to treat me. Originally, I didn't have any. This is the other problem. This all started when I was in academia, and my Twitter handle was Anon, right? Like it was something different. And then all of the academics were like, you need to be using your real name on Twitter. This is ridiculous. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll change all my handles to my real name. And then I was kind of working across so many spaces. I wasn't prepared for what was going to happen. Okay? I wasn't prepared. What is a wiggler? And now it's too late. Unless I fake my own death. Do you guys know about that self-published fiction author who killed herself but didn't actually kill herself? She faked her own death so that she'd get more sales, and then she brought herself back to life. Self-published. Her letter is so funny. Author fakes death. This is already a done deal. What do you mean? I can fix it. I can fix it. If Jeffrey Epstein can fix his online profile, so can I. My brother says I should make fake Joanna Richards. I should make, instead of trying to remove myself from the internet, I should proliferate the amount of information so there are like 600, it's all, I should put out a whole lot of stuff. Wait, here it is. I have to tell you about this. He said there should be many Joanna Richards with much information so that you're overwhelmed when you Google me. It's oh, NJ, that's smart. I have to find this for you because it's so funny. Well, yeah, not everything. Okay, this woman's name is Susan Meechan. She faked her own death, but then she got bored being dead. I can't avoid the United States. I can't. I have a life there. Wait, where is it? So she faked her own death to sell her book. Hilarious. Okay. And then she pretended to be her own daughter and answered all of these questions. And then she where is it? Oh my God, I can't find it, but I need you to know. So she did a GoFundMe as well for her funeral, and then she refused to give back the money because she said that people either cared about her or they didn't. And God, I need to find, I won't be able to. It's so good. Hang on, you can watch with me. And she kind of, she said she was like writing, that it was all a form of writing in a way. Others wanted to know if they would be reimbursed for their donations and support to the family over the years. Miss Adams said she had reached out to the Sheriff's Department in Miss Meacham's community to file fraud claims. The BBC reached out. She felt the only way to find relief from the online bullying she said she'd experienced was to fake her own death. The same toxicity pushed me to this in the first place proves I was morally justified. As soon as the world learned I still had a pulse, the bullying resumed and the piling on began. I wish. Where's the post though, guys? The thing is, she wanted to fake her own death, Common, but she couldn't. And I get this because I used to I have such bad maladaptive daydreaming. I literally have the worst of all my friends. It's sickening. Sometimes like we'll be having a joke and I'll be like, yeah, and then I imagine this, and all my friends will be like, no, that's not normal. But like I am the first to imagine myself in a coma and imagine all of the people coming to my bedside. I love imagining my funeral. Like, I'm the first to do that. The funny thing is that she wanted to die, but then continue to be active in the group. The funny part is she got bored being dead. Johnny Clueless, be the first quantum streamer, both dead and alive. So I don't know if I've mentioned this. I'm writing like a one-woman show, and one of the main questions that it kind of contends with is like, what does it mean to die on the internet? Because I look at figures like Ziz, right? And in one sense, he's dead, but in another sense, his kind of words and his image still circulate quite frequently on the internet. So on the internet, he is alive. And this is also, it's contended with in a book called No One's Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, which is amazing. I debated how to do this a million times. I'm still not sure if it's right or not. There's going to be tons of questions and a lot of people leaving the group, I'd guess. But my family did what they thought was best for me, and I can't fault them. I almost died again at my own hand, and they'd go through all that hell again. Returning to the ward doesn't mean much, but I'm in a good place now, and I'm hoping to ride again. Let the fun begin. Thank you. Thank you, Peter Thiel. Thank you for the money. Sean, what's good? God, I wish that if you actually get the time to like look up this case, Susan Meachin, it's very funny. Thank you so much, Peter Thiel, for keeping them bits up. What am I doing? I'm just streaming. Okay. Back to clone.fyi. So we did the weird vacuum army. Okay. This I streamed. Did I stream consistently this month? I think I streamed consistently-ish December and January, and a little bit less this month. Every month I have about a week off because I get a migraine. But I'm doing my best to be better. "25 years of iPod brain." I was going to go back to my iPod. Supreme Court rules Postal Service can't be sued. I think that's important. Yeah, Seven Harmonies. That's super. And that's the thing. It's like on the internet, so long as you keep kind of being circulated, that second death, like what does it mean to die in the age of the internet? So in a way, Socrates is still alive. That's pretty baller. A divided Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that Americans can't sue the US Postal Service, even when employees deliberately refuse to deliver their mail. Hmm. By a 5-4 vote, what do we think about this? By a 5-4 vote, the justices ruled against a Texas landlord, Labine Conan, who alleges her mail was intentionally withheld for 2 years. Conan, who is black, claims racial prejudice played a role in postal employees' actions. Justice Clarence Thomas, fuck you, I still believe Anita Hill, bro, writing for a majority of 5 conservative justices, said the federal law that generally shields the Postal Service from lawsuits over missing, lost, and undelivered mail includes the intentional non delivery of mail. This makes me really nervous about postal voting as well. I don't love this. In dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote that while the protection against lawsuits is broad, it does not extend to situations when the decision not to deliver mail was driven by malicious reasons. Is it because there's some really important mail that you can miss out that can have huge consequences if you don't respond to it. Justice Neil Gorsuch joined his 3 Liberal colleagues in dissent. President Donald Trump's Republican administration had warned that a ruling for Conan would have led to a flood of similar lawsuits against the cash-strapped Postal Service. Conan, who's also a real estate agent and insurance agent, claims 2 employees at the post office in Euless, Texas, part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, deliberately didn't deliver mail belonging to her and her tenants because she alleges they didn't like that she is black and owns multiple properties. According to court documents, the dispute began when Conan discovered the mailbox key for one of her rental properties had been changed without her knowledge, preventing her from collecting and distributing tenants' mail from the box. When she contacted the local post office, she was told that she wouldn't receive a new key or regular delivery until she proved she owned the property. She did so, the documents say, but the mail problems continued despite the USPS Inspector General instructing the mail to be delivered. Conan alleges the employees marked some of the mail as undeliverable or returned to sender. Conan and her tenants failed to receive important mail such as bills, medications, and car titles, according to the lawsuit. Conan also claims she lost rental income because some tenants moved out due to the situation. Hang on. Hi, Tom. Was I alive during the Thomas confirmation? Does it matter? I feel what I feel. The Anita Hill testimony, I studied a lot for my honors thesis. Can you turn raids on? Some other streamers can raid their viewers with you. I don't know how to text it from the left. Click settings. Okay. Hang on. Everyone wait. You can do it another time, but I appreciate that you wanted. I think I'm in the studio, so I can't. I'll work it out later. But thank you, Tom, for thinking of me and trying to raid me. It's all right. Life is life. I'm not the most techie of the techs. Oh, did you hear that? Well, hi, Tom. That was my neck. That was my neck, guys. How do we feel about the SAVE Act? How do you guys feel about mail-in voting? I mean, I don't know. What else have we got going on here? I would love to watch the Backrooms trailer with you. We can't do that because I keep getting freaking copyright struck on everything I do. So, one of my few areas of expertise happens to be film. Can't ever. Thank you, Tom. Mwah. Have a good night, day, whatever it is. I don't know what time it is where you are, but thank you. I can't talk to you about movies because I get copyright struck all the time. But I got to tell you, this Backrooms, I think the fact that Backrooms is a film suggests something has shifted in society, that people are starting to get into liminal horror. And then the other thing is, this movie makes me feel really bad because it's directed by a 20-year-old. And that's all I really have to say about it anyway. I vote in person too. But I mean, in Australia, it's a public holiday. Like, you get the day to vote. Is it, or am I lying? Did I just make that up? It's very hard for me to know that because I've never had to vote when having a real person job. But now I've had real person jobs, of course, but not even when I have a real person job. So a job that's not this. Well, this is a real person job, but just to buy into chat propaganda for a second and pretend this isn't a real job. When I've had other jobs, they still haven't been real person jobs in terms of I'll work in like the theater. So it'll be like 10 to 6 every day for rehearsal, but then once we're in performance, it's like I don't start work till 5 p.m. But this is the other, and Jade, part of the reason I like lining up is in Australia that you get a sticker and you get a sausage sandwich. And it's a big part. You have to get your democracy sausage. And you have to take a photo of your democracy sausage to show everyone you participated in democracy. It's very important. Okay, thank you, Taresk. I'm just out here lying. Sausage on a piece of bread with onions. Some really impressive stuff going on for us. It's not free. You have to buy it. But it's for charity. So it's kind of free. The sticker is the lie. That's not, you do get a sticker for voting. Maybe it's just where I vote. I always vote at Old Parliament House. So I get a sticker that says I voted at the Museum of Democracy. Okay, guys. Love ranked choice. Yeah, we love ranked choice. Okay. I kind of want to read this, The Internet That Made Clavicula. Also, guys, Anthropic has limited time. Where's that? That's somewhere here. Anthropic is running out of time. Pentagon sets Friday deadline. Here we go. Some ice this year. Yay us. Yay. Yay. Thank you, Adrian. Found it eventually. They've already capitulated. The news from today. I'm already late from the news from today. Jesus. What day is it for you guys? What day are we on? It's Friday now. It's just Friday in Australia. When is this from? The 24th. What is the date? The 27th. Okay. Okay, guys, maybe I'm too late. Maybe well fuck this article then. They already capitulated. No one worry. Everything's fixed. There's no problem with AI. Everyone chill. The AI is not going to take us over yet. Yeah, and you're all saying, didn't they do that on Friday to me? Like, Friday? Like, it's not Wednesday, old news. Jesus. Okay, fine. Okay, hang on. This is the thing. Everyone's calling Clavicular a right-wing streamer. I assume this is because of who he hangs out with. But to me, Clavicular is an anti-political streamer. In the same way that MAGA and a lot of populism can be quite anti-political. Like, this is a man who doesn't want to think about politics because it spikes his cortisol. This is an anti-political streamer. He is not interested in anything beyond his direct self. So I think just because he, like, other people in Miami, so Andrew Tate, Sneeko, Myron, Aiden Ross, Nick Fuentes, just because these people are right-wing and he's young and he hangs out with them, that's not the same as being right-wing. He simply is, he doesn't give it, like, where's that thing? Hang on.
I call you?
I usually just go by Clav if you want to keep it chill.
Clav, let's keep it chill.
You're with it.
Same thing that I explained to you at the start about my interviews with Tate and Fuentes and others is that all I do is put to people what they've done and said, right? In the same way that you said to me, I saw a picture of you with Ghislaine Maxwell or you're in the Epstein vote, and I can answer you. I expect to get questions, I answer them. And my advice to you is if you don't want to be asked about stuff like being in the back of a van with a bunch of right-wing headbangers singing Heil Hitler, then the best thing to do is not be in the back of a van singing Heil Hitler with a bunch of right-wing headbangers. Would you agree with me?
Not necessarily.
Zalok, I think it's an immoral act to run over someone and act like nothing has happened, but it wasn't a politically motivated act, right? There's no ideology behind it. Oh, my shoulders are getting sore. Guys, I went to the neurologist and he just told me to get a sit-stand desk. And I thought, I can't believe I paid $500 for you to tell me that.
Necessarily, because like if someone puts a song on and you're sitting in a car, like I don't really understand how that's supposed to be my fault. And like, why do you keep coming back to this?
Faith, his skin is pretty because he's got pink lighting. See this pink-orange lighting? In theater, there is nothing better than seeing the lighting design and seeing them put pinks on the lights. It just makes you look gorgeous. So it's a lighting trick here.
Man,
Asocial, though, is it's something I would say is a problem of being non-political, right? Okay. You guys can Disagree all you want. I don't give a fuck because I know I'm right.
It's like, it's so silly to me, you know?
Well, because you said to me that the only part of the interview you didn't like was when I got political, and I'm throwing back at you that the only reason I brought that up is because the biggest news story involving you this year.
But that's not even like a
was
relevant,
you-
that's not even like a relevant story. That's like something that happened like, you know, over a month ago. It's like, that's literally
Well,
4
of
press
course it's-
cycles previously.
Of,
Like, how is that
of
even,
course- of course
how's that
it's
even
re-
something that you're
of
still
course,
bringing up?
Of course it's relevant. Of course it's relevant, and it's not me being political. It's something
Not at
you
all.
did. You got to own it. You got to own it and say whether you feel ashamed about it or not, whether you're sorry or not. It's up to you. I don't care. You know, it's just something that you did that was very newsworthy and very notable. And like I say, I don't think you're one of
Was
those
it?
guys. Maybe you are. Maybe you want to keep hanging out with them, and maybe you don't have any problem with it. I just don't think you're one of those guys.
Listen, I have no problem collabing with controversial figures, you know, because that's just kind of my brand is like, you know, the same way that you're uncensored and the same way that you interview people, you know, the same way I'm going to, you know, do collaborations. So I really have no problem.
The pretty is important because he can't talk. I think he just like he is it's just Zoolander. It's Zoolander all the way down.
Problem doing any of the controversial collabs.
Well, look, we spent nearly an hour talking. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little better. I hope we do it again. I apologize in advance for viewers who will watch this and think that I clearly mogged you. You're just going to have to live with that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you got me, Pierce. Well, it was good talking. Thanks for having me. I hope you have a good rest of your day. So take care.
All the best to you, Claire.
Okay, that wasn't the bit that I saw. But there was a bit here.
Sense for you to do this whole Jester Max where you're trying to make me this like right-wing guy when
I'm not joking.
Straight up.
I'm literally doing. I'm actually literally.
well, no.
Hang on. I'm literally doing. Hang on, Clav. I'm literally
Hang
doing
on,
the opposite.
Clav?
I'm actually giving you the chance to say you're not one of those right-wing guys. That you
I'm
don't
not
idolize
political.
Hitler.
There you go.
That you don't
for the sixth time.
Well,
I just said I'm not political.
Yes, but
okay, that's
But you
that's my comment.
Okay.
So it's like
nothing
if
to
you're
do
gonna
with-
make me
it's
like
nothing-
come on
it's-
here and
The thing that people don't realize is that Clav is the opposite of woke. Because you would think the opposite of woke is like this anti-woke, like these like extreme, like right-wing, like hate people, like be super bigoted. No. If you think of woke as being extremely externally focused, worried about community, worried about diversity, worried about the makeup of society, worried about how things affect one another, worried about other people's feelings, worried about like external, right? The kind of looks maxing community, which is attached to the incel community, which is attached to the NEET community, which is attached to the SUI community, of incredibly self-focused, only self-focused. The only thing they're worried about is themselves. So if we always come back to what I always define the political as on this channel, which is politics is how we relate to one another. Right? Politics at its very core is relational. How do we relate to one another? How do we want that institutionalized? How do we want that governed? How do we want, what expectations do we want around that? How do we relate to one another? Okay? So then being apolitical is to be extremely self-centered. I don't think it is. I think being apolitical, to be self-centered, to only be focused on the self. I mean, there's not like, look, we can argue all the way down, right? Like we can argue then that there is a relational aspect because you don't care about how you relate to other people, and therefore that is a form of politics. But what I'm saying is like this kind of attitude, this kind of community is the opposite of woke. Not the bigots, these people who are like, I don't really I don't care about you because you don't affect me. Until you literally affect me in my life, I don't care.
Denounce like every
to do
single
with-
political figure.
It's
I'm
nothing-
not political.
it's nothing
That's
to
all
do-
That's all you're
Okay.
getting, Piers. That's all
Okay.
you're getting is I'm
Yes.
not
When you-
political
when you-
whatsoever in
Okay.
any way. Okay,
Clav,
so back to
I
looks
understand.
maxing. Back to looks maxing.
Clav,
Piers.
I
Like
understand.
you're not.
I'm gonna try-
You're not
I'm
going to
gonna-
have this gotcha
Clav,
moment where you
I'm
have.
going to try.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's not a gotcha moment. You were singing Heil Hitler, right? You made it political, not me. As I said to you at the start of the
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that in terms of like, of course. But then you get to the argument, right, where it's like everything is political. Okay, there is a definition where everything is political, and I don't disagree with that. But I'm saying if you want to look at woke and the opposite of woke, being political in terms of being, if we understand political as relational kind of dynamics, the opposite of the hyper-relational, which is woke, being apolitical, which is a self-centeredness instead of a... I'm just saying. I think there is like a... There's a usefulness in saying that everything is political in certain aspects. And there's also a usefulness in saying that he is not political in the sense of partisan politics. He is not political in terms of caring about or engaging in the way that the government constructs its relationship with the populace. That's not to say that his actions don't have political consequence, but it is to say that his actions don't necessarily have political motivation.
interview, I will always challenge people on what comes out of their mouths. You were singing.
God, I hate Piers. God, I hate him so much. I really wish that because for me, Piers is a man who interviews serial killers in prison. And I just wish he stayed that way. Clavicular is not more than an industry plan. He's a tealite. And we went through this the other stream. His publicity agent is the same as Adam Friedland, and it's the same as all of the tealites. Yeah, he appeals to a particular political faction, but the nice thing is, Zeking, is that he's not wedded to that in the same way that he came out and he was like, oh, well, Gavin Newsom mogs, or like, I don't want to hate on trans people because like, you know, or I don't want to do this because it's just going to raise my cortisol. He appeals to a certain political group because also fascistic thinking cares more about the external casing, right? He appeals to a certain group, 100%. But he's not wedded to them, meaning that it would be very easy for another group to claim him. Like, it would be very easy to get another people on board. Another group of people to get him on board. He's not chained to anyone. Friedland isn't necessarily a tealite. But he has, he's paid, I can't find it because it's in a secret locked Reddit, but his publicist, I would have hated to be a big deal at 20. Braden, is that his real name? Interesting. Yeah. Elena Velez. So this is also from that kind of Red Scare, Come Town. Like, she's part of this Dime Square scene. So the guy who is representing this is, I just think Peter Thiel funds the whole dissident right. And technically, Adam Friedland isn't that in the same way that Anna and Dasha are and Elena Velez is. But he's actively said that Peter Thiel has invited him to his house, and that Peter Thiel, and this is what I was saying to you guys as well, in terms of like, when you work in this kind of field, if you get 100 anonymous donations, it kind of becomes this plausible deniability where, oh really? A Playboy article? Oh wait, I think I heard about that. Yeah, there's a plausible deniability in the same way that the Red Scare girls have the plausible deniability of their Patreon, right? Okay, oh, they make $300,000 a month, like just from patrons on something that we all know we can. Who listens to Red Scare anymore? One. Two, there's a free feed that everyone knows how to access. So even if you wanted to listen to Red Scare, you don't have to pay for it. So where is all this money coming from into their Patreon, right? This kind of subscription service that can be anonymized and is behind a paywall creates this plausible deniability funding world where you can both be funded by Peter Thiel and not funded by Peter Thiel because he just does it anonymously. And as per usual, oh, the radical submissive, fuck. Wait 1 second. That's nuts. Something I want to check. Is there a point to Clavicula's looks maxing aside from the politics of it? I mean, he doesn't want to pass it down. It's just the belief that looks are the one thing that you can control in today's society that gets you more ahead than anything else. It's a nice transition. I just don't know how to work anything, so it doesn't actually cover the transition. Okay. Damn. Legends tell of a place beyond the feed. They say if you scroll far enough, you'll reach that Elysian land. Your thumb will drag Elysian? Your thumb will drag across the glass and hit the top. Nothing new will appear. The timeline will end. You will have reached the terminus of the algorithm. Free. At this peak, ascension awaits. This is really important as well. Looks max. This is why I say it's important to remember that all of these ideologies, if we can call them ideologies, kind of overlap in terms of the looks maxing community that Clav comes from has the same moderators as a lot of incel communities, right? And ascension is this language that's also used in the incel world to, like, once you've managed to fuck someone, you've ascended and you're not allowed to be there anymore. Everyone who has been and Jade, everyone who has been, just because you said Zoolander, so many people have talked about American Psycho in relation to Clav, and I'm like, it's Glamorama. Can we keep up with our Bret Easton Ellis? Like, this is Glamorama. Clavicula, real name Braden Peters, is his 20s a baby. No. I must stop feeling sorry for men. Whether they're old or very young. I've managed to work out that middle section. I gotta work out the other sections. Is a 20-year-old looks maxer. Don't get caught up in jargon. Don't bother with Foyd. Ignore that cortisol is involved. A looks maxer, any maxer, is an individual who's dedicated their life to the pursuit of a single extreme. In Clavicula's case, it's physical attractiveness. He's quite handsome in a boy bandish, good-looking guy at the mall sort of way. Damn, get him. You could say his methods are nothing new. People have whitened their faces with lead and ingested tapeworms in pursuit of beauty. Oh, guys, my friend is in a movie. It's called The Ugly Stepsister. And I think it's something really interesting to watch alongside this. Just speaking of ingesting tapeworms. She plays Cinderella, but obviously the movie is about the ugly stepsister, so I highly recommend it if you like body horror. You could say, but forget beauty. Beauty is the medium, not the message. Clavicular is after something else. Masculinity has always sought itself at the extreme. Oh, the other thing is, and I wonder if this is what this is going to talk about. Like, so much of this is just like gay gym culture. Like, this is what gay men have been doing at the gym for decades. This pageantry is, in terms of like climbing a social hierarchy, is not new. But this is just queer culture where gym is church. Like, this is not new. So I wonder if this touches on that. Masculinity has always sought itself at the extremes. Old word masculinity told men to venture forth into uncharted lands to conquer the world. First came the frontier, then came the markets. What remains to young men today? The digital image. Unlike stationary streamers with setups and rigs. Did you see him complaining about how hard it is to be an IRL streamer? He's like, you desktop streamers have no idea how lucky you have it. Well, that's what I find really interesting, Adrian, as well, is like his opinion about like trans people and how this kind of ties into like, because ultimately, surely the best looks maxes in the world are trans people. The natural looks maxes are trans people who are trying to shape their physical form to match their internal reality. So I'm very interested whenever he's like kind of forced to comment on transness. It's very interesting to think about as well in terms of like there's something I'm thinking of. It's philosophy. You'll like it when I think of it. It's not transhumanism. It's about it's not a fuck it. When I remember it, which will be when I go to sleep tonight, you'll all hear about it next stream. Hi, Follistan. God, what is it? I can see the paper. It's written by a woman. It's very famous. The word is it's right there. I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh my God. No. You gotta let it go. Transhumanism is definitely more political than looks maxing. Because there's an actual like full ideology behind it. There's full thinking behind it. I'm not sure how much. I wish there was more thinking that went into smashing your face with a hammer. There maybe is an implicit or unspoken, like a tacit kind of ideology attached to looks maxing, which I think is much more connected to this kind of incel ideology, this neat ideology. But it's not the same as transhumanism, where people have actually sat down and they've thought shit out. Oh my God. You guys would know what I'm doing. It's not the word that I don't even want to say the word that's coming. Is Hannah here? Hannah, are you here by any chance? Wait, just look at my face for a second. Just my face while I Google stuff. No, I can't remember it. Ya Allah. What is Frankenstein? Not the yellow wallpaper. Guys, when I remember what I'm talking about next stream, you guys are going to be like, God damn it. She is smart. I had to stop mewing. I had to stop doing my neck exercises and my chin shit. It was fun for a second. Oh my God, what is it that I'm thinking of? Holy shit. I'm so upset. No, you guys are never gonna guess it. It's it's like a abominate. No, I want to say something and you're gonna be like, whoa, how dare it's bomb. It's no. God, what's the paper about again? It's that's what I can't remember. I need the word. It's one word. It's one word I'm looking for. It's a state of being. It's a state of it's kind of like erotic aesthetic, but it's another it's a state of reflection. It's a relationship with oneself. We can't figure it out. I can't remember what it's called. The word that I'm thinking of, it's when yourself is horrific. It's when it's being horrified by your it's a oh, fuck. No, not autogynephilia. It's this form of self that I've been memory mogged. Oh my God. Creature. No, you guys. Wait. Could be Christiva. Could be Christiva. Could be Christiva. I think it's objection. Yes. Thank you, Astra. Yes. You win. You win all the awards. Yes, you win. Congratulations. It was Christiva. That's who I was thinking of. I was thinking about objection. You fucking rock. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Holy moly. I may have actually cried tonight. Thank you, Astra. You did it. The corporal reality. Yes. There's probably a really interesting essay about clavicular. I wonder if anyone's written. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Astra, I fucking love you. Oh my God. No, there's nothing here on objection and clavicular. a space that one could feel. Very interesting. Okay. Wow. We got so worked up. It was unnecessary. We didn't need to. My next Substack article is actually going to be, well, shit didn't pop off in the way that I thought it would with the ICE protest, but it was going to be about the Bolsheviks. And comparing the Bolshevik Revolution. Or it was going to be about those executive orders. I don't know. I just need to be more productive. Okay? Johnny, that's funny. Okay. Masculinity has always sought itself at the extremes. Old world masculinity told men to venture forth into uncharted lands to conquer the world. First came the frontier, then came the markets. What remains to young men today? The digital image. Unlike stationary streamers with setups and rigs, Clavicular is known to film outside, where he mogs people. In other words, he looks better than the person in the frame with him. The poor mogged individual, once pulled into the borders of Clavicular's rectangular universe, is reduced to an inferior collection of pixels. This is Clavicular's project, to flatten his world into the 2D of screen, and to physically transmute his flesh into internet. This is so interesting. It's humming along. Don't believe me? Put down your phone. Notice how Clavicular ceases to exist? Maybe for you, sir, Clavicular has made his way into my mind palace. I don't know if that's true now that this, to the extent that he has had an impact on language, which I think is undeniable at this point. I think he exists beyond the phone now because he's shaping language. Clavicular, though he claims to know the precise measurements of several of his bones and his height and weight down to the decimals, has nothing but contempt for the human body, its wild urges and genetic stubbornness. While the country was in the throes of panic over transgender people, Clavicular was, according to him, smashing his face with hammers so his bones would grow back sharper and doing meth to suppress his appetite. He claims he is infertile from testosterone replacement therapy starting when he was 14. He's not one of those muscular gym rats preaching healthy habits. That's not Clavicular's gospel. Self-harm is on the table, which is why, once again, it's important to remember that this community exists alongside the incel community and the voluntary exit community. It's not about longevity or strength. It's not even about looking appealing to women. It's never about looking appealing to women. And I've explained this to you so many times because women will love a horrifying man. It's always men. What is that quote? Yes, this is always the quote that it comes back to. Marilyn Fry from Politics of Reality. I use this a lot in my thesis. To say that straight men are heterosexual is only to say that they engage in sex, fucking exclusively with the other sex, i.e. women. All or almost all of that which pertains to love, most straight men reserve exclusively for other men. Go away. The people whom they admire, respect, adore, revere, honor, whom they imitate, idolize, and form profound attachments to, whom they are willing to teach and from whom they are willing to learn, and whose respect, admiration, recognition, honor, reverence, and love they desire, those are overwhelmingly other men. In their relations with women, what passes for respect is kindness, generosity, or paternalism. What passes for honor is removal to the pedestal. From women, they want devotion, service, and sex. Heterosexual male culture is homoerotic. It is man-loving. Say it again for the men at the back. Say it again. Okay. It's a big time saver, he told the New York Times about not having sex. It would be cleaner, easier to situate clavicular in the context of male internet radicalization as Elliot Rodgers if he had access to gender-affirming care. That's interesting. Okay, so they're hitting on the exact thing that I'm talking about here about the incel relationship. So let's see. This framework only gets us so far. True, the Luxmaxer has its root in the manosphere, yes. The lingo can be traced to incel forums, yes. Clavicular has appeared beside the far-right white nationalist livestreamer Nick Fuentes, yes. This makes people assume they know what Clavicular's political views will be, yet on transgender people, totally fine, just another person a mog. On deciding between Gavin Newsom or JD Vance, Newsom. Vance has a recessed side profile, subhuman. The Maxer is an unhinged monotheist. There is one, count it, one God. Interesting. Yeah, true. Well, lots of shit gets projected onto me too. We all get projected onto, and it sucks. Because he's been injected into our veins, ruggers. So too might it be satisfying to place clavicular in a tradition of homoerotic narcissism. It's like I love it when articles do this. My favorite thing, when I'm like having thoughts and then the article directly addresses them. It's like, you're right there. Every question I have, you've got an answer. So too might it be satisfying to place clavicular in a tradition of homoerotic narcissism. He is, after all, performing for a decidedly male gaze. Inasmuch as caring about your appearance is kind of gay, so too is clavicular kind of gay. But in a homosocial intensity, without the prospect of fucking. Exactly. It's not about fucking them. It's just about everything else to do. It's the aesthetics of the possibility of fucking. Oh my God, this is also relates to, and I talk about a lot in terms of like, how we've moved from a society that is based around, we've moved from an erotic society where we actually have these relations with one another, where we actually are in relationship to one another, touching, feeling, having these erotic desires, to an aesthetic society where it's all based on appearance. The image of its potential. Clavicular is only interested in the image of men, in the image of himself beside an image of a man, in the image of himself triumphing over another image. An image is, after all, a democratic thing, available to anyone with eyes. You know what? That is so interesting, because recently I read on Twitter that he's fallen to 4th in the MOG rankings, and I thought, well, who decided that? Because I don't think ASU frat leader is more attractive than clavicular. That's an interesting point to me. Some men never do though, in Jade. And it's really disappointing when you think they do, because they're all like, I'm a feminist, and then you learn that they don't respect you at all. On the surface, he appears as but the latest in a long line of ephemeral internet curios, briefly mined for commentary, destined to disappear when the feed refreshes. He appears this way because that is what he is. That is all he is. Clavicular is an appearance. There's no him under the surface. Knights had their maidens, voyagers their king, clavicular the algorithm. It tells him what to do, what to be, his bones, his fat, his breakfast, lunch and dinner, his profession, his thoughts, all organized by metrics, data. You can't say it isn't a structured life. In a way, it's monastic, simple, brutal, a flat world, flat as the glass on your phone. Clavicular doesn't go upstairs. He's second floor maxes. So true. Anyone who spent a significant amount of time online is likely familiar with the nihilism it inspires. We're hooked on it. It's frying our attention spans. It makes us feel worse about ourselves, about the world. It tempts us. Look at this. Be jealous. Buy this. Now look at this. Turned on? Follow, subscribe. One side tells us to fight the devil, go offline, touch grass, read books. On the other side is clavicular. He emerges from a budding online apocalypticist movement that extols the virtues of total physical capitulation to the internet. This is something I also consider with when it comes to women and filters. And when I say women and filters, I count myself, right? I'm not suggesting that I am superior and do not use filters. I love to filter. Okay? I'm only human. But there comes a point where it's like, well, which version is like, because I often think like I'm not super out of, when I'm in Australia, I'm not super out of my house. When I'm in America, I'm out of my house all the time. But when I'm in Australia, I spend a lot of time at home. But then I'm on here a lot and I post a lot. And so it's like, which version of me in terms of, but okay, here, right? You know, maybe I'm sitting like this, you know, maybe the way you see me is different to the way my friends would see me in real life. So which version is more real of me? Because this one's more present. This one's seen by more people. This one is out there more often. So is this the real me, or is the real like, or is it even two people? These are bad thoughts. Cyborg. That's the yes. Okay, the cyborg manifesto is something else. I need to put this in my list of little things to write about clavicular that traditionally would have been reserved for writing about women. But now I get to use them to the Cyborg Manifesto, the Christiva on Objection. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a piece. Okay. I confess I find some sympathy for him here. We're all on the same spectrum as clavicular. He simply decided to place himself at its furthest edge. He's far from the first person to believe there are rewards on the other side of extreme behavior. Social media is a hierarchy of attention. You will always know where you stand within it. There are KPIs. Given all the attention he's getting, he's not totally off the mark. To that end, every ounce of clavicular's body has been shaped and sculpted by the machine. His mind is much the same. You cannot say he hasn't sacrificed, that he hasn't left it all at the digital altar. In this sense, there's not much distance between clavicular and the porn-maxing gooners, the men who've bodily submitted themselves to the worship of the fleshless internet image, husks gone limp in the stream. It's a paradox of hyper-online masculinity in 2026. So true. It's a radically submissive movement. Oh my God. Michael, thank you for suggesting this. Or perhaps that's how it's always been. Masculinity has always had a leash. Ascend, Clavicular says. It's an old idea, one of our oldest, delivered in the pill capsule of fad. Through extreme devotion, you can transcend this body. Clavicular sure makes it look new. What with its impenetrable internet slang and its youthful trappings, but the Dead Sea Scrolls, a social media feed, is not. I've little doubt that soon, and within our lifetimes, we will scroll up and the world will refresh, and Clavicular will disappear. Where will he go? Where do any of these internet... Oh my God, this is what I was saying! How do you die on the internet? How do you die on the internet? It's literally like one of the fucking most interesting questions to me. Once the articles go up and the novelty vanishes, only the almighty algorithm knows. Playboy actually has great articles. God, I'm so ready for us to never talk about hockey again. They had their opportunity, they blew it. It's time for them to go back to none of us caring about them. Let's see what they've got going on here. See? They've got... I really like their little graphic design too. Interesting. Okay. Do we want to... Do we want to? I read Playboy for the articles and for the pretty women. Do you want to do Erica Kirk? I'm actually a bit tired tonight, so I don't know how long I'll stream. So we can do Erica Kirk or Iran. I've avoided Iran because I'm scared of you guys. But I can give you my Yes, so common. I spent like 15 minutes freaking out because I couldn't remember objection, and the word is literally all I was looking for. But luckily, Astra fixed it for me. She was like, sounds like Christiva. And the only information I gave her was the word I'm thinking of is abomination, and I know it's written by a woman. So good job, Astra. But maybe I'll write a piece on clavicular objection and the cyborg manifesto. Okay, everyone wants Iran. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Do I have any Iranians in the chat? I feel like Blinky Bebe, you're Iranian, aren't you? Am I making that up? War may be more important, but is what I have to say about war more important? That's what you have to balance it out with. Right? No one's denying that war is more important than Erica Kirk and Candace Owens' dumbass opinion on her. Although we are going to come up with a conspiracy heuristic specifically for Candace. We're going to work out what to look for when she talks. Okay. Let's go to YouTube. See what's the latest with Iran. Shall we watch Fox News? They're the ones with the latest. Or Al Jazeera. Maybe Al Jazeera? We're doing Al Jazeera. Let me do the little thing that you guys all need because you're all babies. Al Jazeera is run out of Qatar, funded by Qatar because it's in Qatar and that's their news station. I'm aware. And when I listen to them, I keep that in mind. Okay, you happy? Is everyone's aware that I'm aware that Al Jazeera is funded in part by Qatar? Or as my people like to call it, Qatar. And by my people, I mean Warabs. White people who feel they're Arab on the inside. That would be me. I was saying inshallah before all you bitches. Let me just go through this ad because I'm in the wrong channel. Qatar. Ya Allah. No, the Chinese meme is that everyone was meeting everyone at a very Chinese time in their life. I truly I ascended for a while there and became Arab. Yes, we're all aware. We're all aware that Al Jazeera is funded. Okay? Is everyone aware? I just want to make sure. God.
The United States have paused for a break, according to Omani officials, and will resume in the coming hours. A third round of high-stakes indirect nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran is being held in Geneva. Both sides say they want a diplomatic solution to avert a full-scale military conflict. that has the potential to ignite the region. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff have separately met Oman's foreign minister, who's facilitating this third round of negotiations. Before those discussions kicked off, President Masoud Pezeshkian reiterated Iran's opposition to building a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so there's some important things to keep in mind here, right? There's what's best for America, there's what's best for Iran, then there are the interests of that's interesting, common good, just quickly. That's really interesting. Maybe we'll do just a Christiva stream where we analyze a whole lot of like prominent figures in the media through Christiva. I think, I don't know. There's so many things I need to say and I get nervous because I'm like, I don't know if I can say them all quickly enough for you guys to not jump down my throat. You know, so I'm going to do my best. But you just have to behave. Okay? Okay. So first of all, the situation in Iran is significantly different to what it was during the 12-Day War, right? The 12-Day War, which happened last year with the tit-for-tat with Israel and America, et cetera, they were still using the sort of strategic, patient sort of thing. But this time around, it feels that the deal on the table is regime change. And that is going to be viewed as existential for Iran. And that will lead to different calculus on their side. You've got someone like Trump who is very transactional, right? And is ultimately like, well, if I put a good deal on the table, they should take it. That makes sense, you know? Like if I give them a good deal, it doesn't make sense because he still thinks through the frame of the deal, right? Ultimately, he's like, if I give them a good deal, there's no reason that they should deny it. But even though there is a pragmatic side to Iran, especially now that Pezeshkian is the prime minister, well, is it a prime minister or president? He's not the Ayatollah. President. Now that Pezeshkian is the president, who is a much larger moderate, much more in terms of, much more willing to cooperate with the United States. Yes, there is the pragmatic side of Iran, which would definitely be willing to do quite a lot of things, right? Like Iran has put on the table that they are willing to halt nuclear proliferation. They're willing to halt their nuclear program. Iran has never been interested, speaking wise, in terms of their rhetoric. Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei has never been interested in nuclear weapons. So they're more than happy to give up nuclear weapons. And to an extent that they are willing to let America fund their nuclear program to an extent, which would give America even extra oversight over the nuclear program. There's like an extreme willingness to move there. But at its base, Iran is the first. Yes, there's religious, yes, there's Marxist, like leftist kind of ideology there. But at its core, the revolution in Iran was a sovereigntist revolution, one to push back against the imperialist nature of the United States, right? So you have to remember the Ayatollah believes he inherited this revolution and what this revolution stands for, which is Iranian sovereignty. So there are certain red lines. And when you look at these negotiations, it's always about people's red lines and what they have. So the red line for Iran is going to be keeping a nuclear weapons program, as is their right. They believe it is their sovereign right to enrich uranium, and keeping their own autonomous military, right? Because previously they relied on the American military and the Americans took that away, right? So they view that as an issue of sovereignty. as the same to do with regime change. Keep in mind, I just want to say, I am talking at a state-to-state level here. I'm not talking about the people of Iran. I understand that there are internal issues in Iran. I'm not addressing them right now. And part of the reason I'm not addressing them is because Iran is a country of 93 million people, an enormous country, right? So I'm just not, at this moment, interested in going into the internal politics. I'm just talking about what matters when we're coming to this negotiation table, right? So those are going to be even though Donald Trump is working from this kind of transactional framework, there is an extent to which you could really get Iran on board with that, but there are red lines in terms of leadership change, nuclear enrichment, and an autonomous army. I would say that the deal under Obama was too friendly to Iran, to be honest. It allowed them to drag their feet massively on normalization. So there were problems with the JCPOA. Sometimes you read things. JCPOA. Yeah. Sometimes you read them and then when you go to say them, you can't remember. JCPOA. Thank you. I think that that was a sweet deal for Iran. Not so much in terms of the nuclear program, but in terms of the requirements for it to normalize relations with the rest of the world, right? Now, there's the American interest. America's interest at this stage under Donald Trump is to get the fuck out of the Middle East, right? So all they really want is for Iran to normalize. However, there are friends of America who want a little more. It's a very interesting time, I think, because I don't know if he got any concessions. It's a very interesting time because both Israel and Iran have a unique opportunity to get a situation that they want under Trump that they probably couldn't get under any other president, right? Because Trump, for everything, for all that we hate of him, for everything that is bad about him, I'm just like, please, I'm just talking from the perspective of international relations right now. When I'm thinking as a international relations person, I understand that it upsets a lot of people, that I just talk very plainly and pragmatically, and that I'm not making moral judgments. I'm just telling you how things are and how I would be thinking if I were in a war game, if I were in these positions, if I was a diplomat, how I would be thinking about things. That is my assessment here, okay? I'm not making any moral kind of judgment here, okay? The thing about Trump when it comes to this sort of international relations is that he is far less ideological than many of the presidents that have come before him and many of the presidents who will likely come after him, because he does view things as business transactions, which means that it would be way easier for Iran to normalize, because Iran has historically been seen as the enemy, the evil enemy, the Ayatollah. We must get rid of Iran. We must get rid of the Ayatollah's regime. Now, if Trump could get a normalizing deal with the regime, he may be fine to keep it in power. Keep in mind, if you look at Venezuela, they took out Maduro, but they left the administration in power because all he wants is an administration that will play ball, that will do what he wants, right? So it's not about regime change in the historical sense under Trump. So it is possible for the kind of Ayatollah's regime to stay in place under Trump and to get a deal. Maf, there are things that Iran has never forgiven the United States for, like when Mossadegh came to seek help from the US. So, you know, there's bad blood on both sides. And once again, I do not support the Ayatollah. I do not support the Iranian administration. I am talking brass tacks right now, okay? So Iran could manage to normalize and economically integrate, get rid of sanctions under Trump, okay? Without losing the Ayatollah. It is possible under Trump for them to get this deal. In the same way, Israel is in a crazy position because Israel essentially has until the end of Trump's term to get what they want, which is for Iran to become a non-factor in the Middle East. Okay. Ideally, Israel would like to occupy the position that Iran occupied when the Shah was in charge under Nixon, which is like basically being the linchpin of the Middle East, being the global power in the Middle East. The problem is, when the Shah's Iran played that role, they already were politically and economically powerful, and in terms of their geography, they were powerful, and it's Iran. It's a really, really big country. Israel has 9 million people and is not strong without America, right? And so it's not occupying the same kind of position that Iran was under the Shah during the Nixon administration. But ultimately, when it comes to these negotiations, Israel wants Iran made a non-factor. They want no nuclear program whatsoever, okay? Which that's their red line, right? Israel, because Israel currently, when it comes to countries in the Middle East, isn't viewing threat, right? They're viewing the capacity to be a threat. So this is Dirk Moses, who's a scholar in genocide, talks about this through the framework of permanent security, which is this idea that like it's not enough to have security, it needs to be permanent security. I need to never be under threat. Anything that could in the future be a threat needs to be eliminated preemptively. So Israel wants from this negotiation Iran to lose their capacity to have any nuclear power, to lose their ability to be a military power in the region. Which means when it comes to a deal, they want no deal to be offered without regime change, without a dismantling of the nuclear program. Both of those things are obviously a red line for Iran. Now, Iran could do something which would totally fix this, but they also ideologically aren't in a position where I think that they would do it. I do not think Khamenei would be willing to do this, even though he should. And it would be the sensible thing for Iran to do in this moment. Because it's this thing that happens often with Israel that countries can do, which is put out a deal that is so fair, that is so eminently fair, that when the US rejects it, it's like, you can literally be like, see, we couldn't have offered a better deal. We couldn't have offered a better deal, right? And it was rejected. So the deal that Iran should offer is the integration economically of the US and Iran, including into the nuclear program, so that the US has oversight over the nuclear program because they are economic investors. This is in exchange for dropping sanctions. On top of that, they would agree to a political détente in the region to drop any kind of animosity they have towards the US and Israel. Now, even though that is something that they have shown through action a willingness to do, to politically say it, I'm not sure ideologically is a stretch the Ayatollah would do. He should. He absolutely should. Exactly, DJ. Exactly like Ukraine has done. Where it's like, what more do you want Ukraine to offer? Like, because it makes it explicit. It's like, we are the ones coming to the table. Yeah, Shlomo, the thing is, it's like, the problem with permanent security is it doesn't make anyone secure because you have a paranoid state. And paranoia doesn't mean that you don't have a reason to be paranoid. You know, it doesn't mean that your security has never been affected in the past. It doesn't mean that you don't have a reason to feel this way. But the paranoid state acts in a way that creates a dangerous environment. So, yeah, I think there is a deal. A deal could be reached here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And the problem is, this will not be like the 12-day war because of Iran's red lines. They will see an attack this time as existential. So in the 12-day war, it was like tit for tat, kind of strategic patience, measured responses, where everything was the same. Like it was, what's the word? Balanced. It was, you hit this building for me, so I hit that building for you. I don't remember what the word is right now. That will not happen this time around because the Ayatollah would rather go down reciprocal. Yeah, that kind of thing. The Ayatollah ideally will never want to side with America in terms of security. Because the thing is as well, in terms of being a sovereigntist, kind of like, this is a proportionate, that's the word, thank you. This is a country of civilization, right? This is a country that doesn't want to fall in line behind other countries. It wants to stand on its own. It doesn't want to be like, oh, it's okay, my security is guaranteed by this other country. Now, if it was going to do that, it would likely do it with China before it would do it with America, okay? But it is willing to economically integrate with the United States. That it is willing to do. So there is, as I said, this is a tense moment because many in the key players in the Middle East, Iran and Israel, see this as their last opportunity to get a really good deal. But there are red lines on both sides, and I guess it depends totally on the US. And I just wonder, and the thing is, yes, Iran is massively killing its own people right now, right? Massively. But you should not discount the 30 million faithful that would be willing to go to war. And you should not discount the nationalistic sentiment that would have a problem if the United States started to attack Iran for the Americans. You shouldn't discount the ideological element, which is important to many Iranians, and you shouldn't discount the 30 million, and keep in mind the 30 million plus the regime that has shown it's more than willing to kill its own people to ensure the continuation of this regime, right? It's showing you how far it's willing to go. So I really don't think that people should look at what happened last year and assume that this will be a repeat, because I can guarantee you it won't be. Yeah, so let's just see what, I only got 30 seconds into this video before I started yapping, but I was really using the video as a jumping off point anyway. Do I think there's imperialist? I think people oversell this imperialist aspect. I definitely don't think that Israel is trying to take over Iran or Iran. I'm not seeing that. I am seeing them wanting to be the only dominant power in the region. They want to hold Iran's position in the region. They want to be the most powerful player in the region. And economically, in terms of their relationship in terms of their relationship with America, in terms of technology, yes, Israel is. But they are a country of 9 million people versus a country of 90 million people. A country that maybe doesn't have what America has, but stands on its own 2 feet, which is something they're very proud of. Their military is not an American military. So I just think it's great that that's what Israel wants to do. And I mean, Netanyahu has a bunch of reasons for wanting this, right? there's always the spoiler aspect. He doesn't want America having a good relationship with Iran. He's getting rid of Iran's nuclear program has been something he's been trying to do since the 90s. Staying in power and keeping Iran as a threat is very important to his political survival. There's a bunch of reasons that influence this. Ultimately, the best situation would be for America to manage to strike a deal where they have economic integration, including in the nuclear program, and Iran puts out a political statement where they have a détente, a dropping of bad rhetoric towards Israel and the United States. That's fanciful. I'm being fanciful. It's not impossible. It's not impossible because if the Ayatollah could stay in power, avoid war, keep the nuclear program, keep their independent military, that would be a huge win for them. It should be something they consider. It's something Pezeshkian would consider. It all comes down to how strong, and I want you to, when I say the ideology of the Ayatollah, don't think of Islamism, don't think of leftism, think of sovereignty, because that is when Khomeini thinks of what his legacy is, right? That's what I'm saying. This would be the most important part of his legacy should be the autonomous military and the nuclear program. But if he sees it as sovereignty writ large and he sees fighting the imperialism of the United States and Israel as a problem, then he won't make the deal. But yeah, how does it keep Bibi in power? Because Bibi's entire time as Prime Minister of Israel has been as Mr. Security, as the only man who can keep Israel safe. And the biggest threat to Israel has always been, as shaped by Netanyahu, Iran. If you go back and you read all of Netanyahu's books, all of the Palestinians, every problem that is facing Israel is rooted in Iran. So if you get Iran to say, we're not going after Israel anymore, even though that's good for the people of Israel, it kind of undercuts the raison d'etre for Bibi being in power.
The Americans might think I'm a politician like them and that I tell lies, but the religious leader of a society can't lie. When he announces that we won't have nuclear weapons, it means we won't. Even if I want to do that, I can't because of my beliefs. I'm not allowed to do so.
So for many decades, Ayatollah Khomeini put a fatwa against nuclear weapons, saying that they're anti-Islamic because of the amount of destruction they create and a myriad of reasons. But yeah, I mean, obviously the American position is Iranians are liars, and obviously they're lying and they're trying to create nuclear weapons. And I don't know either way, but I can tell you that the stated position of Iran long term has been no nuclear weapons. Nuclear is anti-Islamic. That's mostly bollocks. So I don't know. They don't have a nuclear weapon currently, so far as I know. The Ayatollah has always said this and always maintained this, so I don't know. I can only tell you that what Pezeshkian is saying here aligns with what the Ayatollah says. Do we trust them? I don't know. I don't know if I would trust Iran, but in the same way that, there's no trust for Iran, Iran turns around and says there's no trust. How many times has the US, what good is the word of the United States? They have the JCPOA, they tear it up. You make a deal with them, they tear it up. What good is the word of the US? It's a really stressful situation for negotiation because there's not much trust on either side. It's very similar to Israel-Palestine in that way because there's a significant lack of trust.
But then they claim Iran hasn't said it's not after a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, so avocadorable. There is not one. This is very confusing for people. Like each religious leader of different countries, the religious law and the religious understanding country to country, religion to religion is different. So the fatwas in one country, that Sharia, like when people are like, oh my God, I don't want Sharia law to come to this country. It's like, what do you mean by that? Because it means law that is religiously influenced. Sharia law is different country to country. So it's very unclear. Like just because Pakistan is Islamic and has nuclear weapons doesn't mean that that's going to be the Islamic law in a different country.
But the shadow of a possible U.S. military intervention remains large. The U.S. says Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, has departed the Greek island of Crete and is on its way to the Middle East. The U.S. says Abraham Lincoln is already deployed near the Gulf of Oman. Secretary of State Marco Rubio remains cautious about any breakthrough during talks.
Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States.
It's very funny to me that it's like Iran has weapons, so they're a threat. We're going to move all of our weapons to Iran's border, but that shouldn't be viewed as a threat. It's just the mere presence. A country having an army makes them a threat. A country having defense materials makes them a threat. Like, okay, well, Iran had those ballistic missiles 2 months ago. Like, what is changing here? What has changed? Because now a country having weapons within their own borders is a threat that requires action. I'm very confused by this.
And our bases in the region and our partners in the region. So
I just want to say something that motivates me because, once again, I don't want what I'm saying to be heard as pro-Ayatollah, pro-Iran. That's not my position. My position is this. Oh, St. Kitts and Nevis from our game the other day. My position is this would be a catastrophic war that would complete, like, pretty much every other country that's not Israel in the region does not want this war. The last thing you need is for Iran, a country of 90 million people, to become another Syria. This is not good for Iranians. This is not good for anyone in the region. This is a disaster of a situation if this breaks out into war. Because as I said, if America attacks Iran, this is not going to be a repeat of the 12-day war. It will not. It is existential at this stage for Iran. It will not be what happened last year. It will be so much worse. So when you hear me and you think that I'm saying something that sounds like it's pro-Ayatollah, I assure you it is simply anti-war, okay? I'm not a fan of Khamenei. I'm not a fan of the administration. I simply don't want this to escalate to something that doesn't serve anyone in the region. No, the Saudis don't want this war. The Saudis don't want any war in the region. The Saudis barely even want Yemen. Okay? Like this, because who has to pay? Also, they do not want all of these people flowing this way. Turkey is doing so much advocacy to try and, because what Turkey is kind of doing the opposite of Israel in terms of, like, Turkey is saying to the US, please, 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 please make it a piecemeal deal. Please let them do, oh shit, you can't see that, sorry. Turkey is saying to America, just why don't you make it in stages? Do little stages. Just let's do the nuclear deal now and that's enough. Just do that. That's fine. And then it can just be a little bit. We can just do stage by stage and it can be, you know, we can make it a small thing. And Israel saying it's regime change or nothing. It's kind of like these two active different pressures because trust me, no, this... You can be like, oh, they want to attack Iran. You are wrong. You are wrong. I am telling you, you are wrong. Because Syria was shocking for the region. And this is a country of 90 million people. That's too many people. Okay.
And understand that beyond just a nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed.
So they're not allowed to have an army, according to Marco Rubio.
To attack America and attack Americans.
Does America have any weapons that can reach Iran? Because if that's the enough reason to go to another country, like, that's crazy.
if they so choose to do so.
No, I really don't think I think people think Iraq, Iran, I think everyone thinks all the countries are the same size as Israel. That's all I can imagine. Everyone thinks that all of these countries have about 10 million people in them. That's all I can assume.
These things have to be addressed. The negotiations
Why?
tomorrow and the talks tomorrow will be largely focused on the nuclear program. And we hope progress can be made, because that's the president's preference, to make progress on the diplomatic front. But it's also important to remember that Iran refuses to talk about the ballistic missiles.
It's very interesting to me. What they refuse to do is give up their sovereign military capacity, their right to have a military that is their own, because it is unclear why the United States should get to dictate whether or not they're allowed to have an army, and whether or not that should be, like, I don't know. Yeah, I want to talk about Cuba. I just don't know much about it, Jason. So I'm worried about that too. But this is very, like, it's not siding with Iran to say that in an international world order, it's crazy that one country can be like, hey, they have weapons and they refuse to give up their weapons, so we're going to go to war with them.
To us or to anyone. And that's a big problem.
And on Wednesday, in an effort to apply more pressure, the Trump administration announced a further tightening of sanctions targeting Iran's oil sector and weapons programs. Well, we have three correspondents covering the latest developments. Kimberly Halkett is in Washington, D.C. Tohida Sadi is in Tehran. But we start with Osama bin Javid, who's in Geneva, where those talks are being held.
Well, yeah, this is what I'm saying. The red lines for Iran would be giving up their independent military and giving up their nuclear programs, because they would see both of those as attacks on their sovereignty, which is ideologically the key underpinning for the Ayatollah, more so than Islam, more so than any sort of leftist ideology. It is this idea of resisting imperialism and maintaining sovereignty that underpins everything. So the red lines are going to be that independent. I mean, I don't know if it is about oil. I truly don't, because I just don't see the need for America to access Iranian oil. And I don't see why sanctions aren't enough, especially they want to get out of the Middle East. So they're not going to territorially acquire oil in that region, especially when there's so much oil in Latin America that would make more sense. But they can have control, ideally, right? It's that situation of economic integration, like what has happened in Venezuela. Keep the ideal situation for Trump and Iran would be to keep the current administration in power, but create an open economic relationship between America and Iran that gives America access to their oil, gives America access to their nuclear program. You know, that makes more sense. But ultimately, America wants out of the Middle East. They're trying to deal with this. Oil makes sense, but oil is one of those things, and I'm so on board with it because there's a really good book, and it talks about the Rappaports. Oh, what is this book called? I do not remember the name of this book. But when I remember it, I'll remind you next time. Oil fits everywhere, right? But sometimes there are other explanations. And in terms of the what do you mean when you say oil? What kind of access do they want, right? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, because it's too far away. That's not the kind of current focus of the administration. Black Gold and the Polish Man, is that the name of the book? Black Gold. It might be. Astral Storm.
So there's been a pause, but the talks will resume later today, I understand, Osama. Bring us up to speed with what's been happening there and what the negotiations are focusing on exactly in this third round.
Well, the Omani foreign minister has been clear that it was been a positive atmosphere, constructive exchange of ideas, and he's hopeful that these are going to resume after a short break. We've seen the mediating teams leave, and apparently they're going to come back in a short while. This has been the way that they've been talking to each other via the Omani foreign minister. The Iranians gave their proposal last night to the Omanis. They discussed it with the Americans, and they who had some questions and observations, they came back to them with them. Now there is, we believe, a consultation that is happening among the Iranian delegation to see how they can move closer to striking this deal. Not everybody here expects a breakthrough, but according to at least one analyst, that if these talks...
Guys, I'm not saying oil doesn't explain things. Oil is always a factor. Oil will always fit. That's what I'm trying to say. Oil will always fit. But oil doesn't always provide a holistic, unified theory of why something is happening. That's what I'm trying to say. To me, oil doesn't provide a unified theory of why escalating with Iran now is happening. In part, it's because of the confidence that he got from Maduro. There are lots of other things that contribute, but I just don't think that oil provides a unified theory. Oil is obviously a part of it. It's part of every calculation, right? To me, it's not the driving force behind this, in my personal opinion. And I am, and I clip it, guys, because there are some that will not say this, but I will. I can be and am often wrong. So if it ends up, they're going, Tom, because they're feeding their people lobsters and, this, and people who shouldn't be telling me things have been telling me things. If you get a sense of what I'm talking about from my last stream, I've heard some things. And I think they might be going. But I wish they wouldn't go, because it's not good for anyone.
break down, it could mean all-out war. So there's a lot at stake here. And at the base of all of this is the Iranian nuclear program. The Americans want Iran to give it up completely. They want no uranium enrichment. They want the fissile materials out, and a promise that this deal will last forever. Whereas the
nuclear program is seen as a sovereignty issue. They will not give up their right to enrich uranium.
Iranians want concessions. They want to ensure that their sanctions are lifted from them. They want to make sure that there is not a war that looms on top of them every single time that there is a breakdown. And they want to make sure that they go back to the Iranian people and tell them that they did not capitulate and did not surrender. But the task is that they have to convince this Trump administration that the deal they're giving them is better than the deal that was signed by Barack Obama. And all of that he's been saying, that Iran's nuclear capability that was destroyed 8 months ago is actually the case, and he should stick to the negotiating table and not opt for the other option.
Kimberly Halkett in Washington, the fact that they're going to be resuming the talks later today, can we see that as a positive sign that the White House is genuinely prioritizing a diplomatic breakthrough despite the military buildup?
Yeah, there's no question that the fact that there has been a period of talks, intense 3 hours, followed by a break, and the resumption of talks is one signal that the United States is serious about
direct nuclear talks between the U.S.
I meant to press pause. We were talking to the nice lady. The snowballer side, I will just quickly touch on that, Sean, which is, I find it very funny that there has been a call to ban snowball fights before there's been a call to ban guns in the United States. You guys are weird. I don't know what to tell you. People are more upset about throwing snowballs at police than they were about January 6th. I find your country strange. DeRooster, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
3 hours, followed by a break, and the resumption of talks is one signal that the United States is serious about diplomacy. And we can also take the words of the president as recently as his State of the Union address, where he said that is his preferred option. But there's no...
I've moved everything across to Ghost. I'm having trouble leaving because I just think no one will ever find my shit ever again. And I worry about doing it as such a small creator, but I have to... Values first. It must be values first. We must move to Ghost. I'm just nervous that no one's ever going to read any of my stuff ever again because I can't get any traction on Twitter. I can't get any traction anywhere else. So I just feel like I'm going to be lost when I finally move there. Thank you, though, Italian Mix.
No question, given the military buildup, the presence of those 2 carrier strike groups or aircraft carriers, the fact that they are in the region shows the United States is pursuing a maximum pressure dual track in order to try and bring about a negotiation with Iran. We know right now that the efforts are focused on getting a deal on limiting and halting uranium enrichment and seeing that that can be something that is done indefinitely. If that is accomplished, what we're told is there would be follow-up talks to try and reach a deal on limiting Iran's ballistic missile program and also support for regional proxies.
Literally, the requirements that the US are asking for will be seen as capitulation on sovereignty. So even if there were a deal, like, as I said, economic integration, including the nuclear program, paired with a political statement about a détente with Israel and the United States, it doesn't seem like even that would be enough here if they're requiring an abandonment of the nuclear program and a drawdown of the independent military.
Sadi in Tehran, what's the view from there? Iran currently now negotiating under the threat of war. Do we know what Tehran is offering to avert potential US
Italian
strikes?
Mix.
Well, from what I can say, it's a very brittle situation, a very fragile one indeed, which runs the risk of different scenarios, including a confrontational one. And on that, Iran is coming out with a two-sided, twofold statement based on engagement on the one hand and the war preparedness for war scenario on the other hand. So speaking of the demands that we are hearing from the Iranian side, we have to keep in mind that the gist of the matter remains very simple, as the Iranian spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just ahead of these.
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on regime change in Iran because I'm not Iranian. If there is regime change, I don't support the current regime. I don't think they're good. I don't think Ayatollah Khamenei is a good person. I don't mind President Pezeshkian in terms of a movement in the right direction. But I definitely don't like the Ayatollahs. Do I think that the son of the Shah should be put in after American intervention? No, I don't think that will work. I don't think that works. So in terms of do I think there should be regime change, I do not believe that that is the question of the moment, because I don't think that's really up to external powers. I think that what should happen is there should be a deal that promotes peace in the region and economic integration of Iran, because economic integration would create the biggest difference for the people of Iran. And if the people of Iran weren't starving, then perhaps they'd be able to make stronger political movements. Maybe if the people of Iran weren't crippled by sanctions, because for whatever you want to say, the government is incredibly strong and incredibly willing to use its power against its people. And as I said before, there are 20 to 30 million people who are willing to defend that regime. It's a country of 93 million people. So for all that you've heard who are oppressed by the regime, do not discount how many are willing to defend it. So I am interested in what can actually help the people and what is actually worth doing. Regime change, to me, it's a weird hawkish principle that is the same as gifting democracy. What I'm interested in is what is best for the people, and economic integration, where America is integrated. Well, you can. What is the argument that economic integration failed with China? Do we not believe that China's movements are stymied somewhat by their economic integration? I mean, that's the argument Trump would make, that the deal was too good with China and that China used it to game the system, and now China's powerful and trying to compete with compete with America. But arguably, is China not limited by its economic integration? Sam Harris told me this will be different for real. The nuclear treaty by Obama was too generous because it didn't require normalization. It really didn't require anything from Iran.
Round of talks came out to say that they are looking for actually a sort of assurance that sanctions are going to be removed in case they, in return, give some assurances.
Jason Brent, I don't understand how that's responsive to the question of the China economic integration failed with China.
Related to the peaceful nature of their nuclear program. This is the very gist of the matter, but the devil is in details. And as the two sides are moving towards more and more detailed technicalities, specifically seeing the presence of...
Do we not believe that to an extent? Okay, but was the goal... What is the goal of economic integration? Is the idea that we economically integrate and therefore all countries become exactly we have suddenly economic integration means that the leadership becomes what we want it to become? Or do we create a system of globalization which makes war almost economically impossible between major powers? Like, I understand that Americans are like, CCP bad, Iran bad, everything should be just like here because our system's so perfect, no problem. But it's like, I do think China liberalized. I do think they have a state capitalism. I don't necessarily support the Chinese government. I think the Chinese government is not good. But who am I to decide what the Chinese government should be?
The IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi there, we know that there are several issues, not just related to the stockpile of uranium, the enriched uranium, but also about the continuation of Iran's nuclear activities, as well as other controversial issues that Iran prefers at the time being not to bring them on the table of negotiations. All in all, this is a delicate situation. Iran says it prefers diplomacy over war. However, it is prepared for confrontational scenarios ahead. An Iranian foreign minister said that in that regard, it is...
Pussies. What will guarantee peace? Gifting democracy and political systems? Is that how we guarantee peace? Where did that work? I'm not suggesting anything works over anything else, except for the fact that I can tell you that externally imposing a regime is much less successful than allowing people in their own country to decide on their own political system and empowering them as much as you can to do so. Well, Saudi's not a fucking... Has anyone been to Saudi other than me? Because I'd love to tell you that that's a perfect fucking political system for the people who live there. But there are lots of people in Saudi who are fucking unhappy, and I don't see us saying, oh, Saudi isn't allowed to economically integrate, or Saudi isn't allowed to have their own army, Saudi isn't allowed to do anything because their system is bad for the people. You guys are crazy. You know what I remember from being in the UAE? Slaves. I remember slaves. I remember seeing modern slaves. I remember seeing 16 people in a room the size of a fucking compartment on a cruise ship. I remember seeing people who did not have access to their passports. I remember seeing modern slavery in the UAE and Saudi and Qatar and Bahrain. Oman less so, but I'm sure they would want slaves. I just think it's interesting that it's like regime change in Iran or bust, but it's like, hey, plenty of our friends have fucked up systems too. Plenty.
Ready to give concessions, but meanwhile we have to keep in mind that while we are talking about exchange of concessions, we are also talking about exchange of a rhetoric based on war.
Interesting. Kimberly, Tawhid says there that Iran...
Legitimately, what I want is not a war where we have America has more weapons in the region than the fucking invasion of Iraq, and Iran views it as existential. And 90 million people, I do not want a country destabilized that has a population of 90 million people. I do not want Syria times 4.5. I don't want it. I don't. Times three. I don't want it. I do not want it. I do not think it is good. I do not think it is good for the people of Iran. I do not think it is good for the Middle East. I do not think it is good for anyone. And I think if you do think it's good, then you shouldn't be able to vote.
Iran is preparing for all possible scenarios. What are the current calculations in Washington?
Yeah, so worried about those ballistic missiles that can hit the US. So worried you go into an existential war with Iran. That's a great idea. Turkey doesn't want this war. Turkey's actively telling the US, can you please just make it a step-by-step kind of thing? What are you saying? Let me just check though. Turkey. No, China is the biggest. China has its eye on being. This is the thing. This is my problem whenever I talk international relations. There's all this like moral stuff implanted onto any kind of position that I put forward, right? I'm not making a moral assessment about the leadership of China, about the goals of China, about the leadership of Iran, about their goals. I am telling you purely in terms of international relations, in terms of pragmatism, what happens when we push in certain directions. So when I talk about China and economic integration, I'm not saying that it dissolved their geopolitical goals. Certainly not. But I'm saying it, even if you look at Elbridge Colby and his designs on how to stop China, economic integration is a big part of that plan, making it economically completely unviable. Why do you think we want to cut off trade routes, right? Because China is so reliant on foreign trade. That it's easy to starve them out. Well, easy is an overstatement, but I just say Ramadan shit. Ramadan. Yeah, well, I mean, Trump visits like the Gulf and now everything's gold.
Washington, domestic political calculations. Does the administration have the backing for military action?
Well, that's the problem. It doesn't. The American people, after a generation of war in Afghanistan, prior to that, and concurrent with that, Iraq,
There's no manufactured consent. There's no consent. It doesn't matter if the people agree with it or not. That's not in the calculations of this administration.
many people who are feeling their fatigue and also feeling it financially.
The United States is willing to go to what they refer to as a contained nuclear war with China. That is in Elbridge Colby's writings on the subject, that a limited nuclear war is the end point of direct conflict with China. And obviously, given the United States allies in the region where China is completely encircled, the United States wins if you play the game of rational actors doing rational things and everyone following exactly the kind of situation that if you believe that everyone plays out things that are in their best interest. That, of course, is a super stupid way to calculate what will happen in wartime. That's not how people act. So I don't know. I'm going to finish and then I'm going to go because I knew talking about Iran would end up like this.
Not willing to see the United States involved in another foreign entanglement. Add to that, we are also hearing reporting that many on the aircraft carrier that has been deployed most recently, they are on an extended deployment that has been extended now 2 and 3 months beyond what was the original deployment date. And so many of them are missing their family birthdays, their birth of their children. It's taking an incredible toll. So in all, there is a weariness, a war weariness. There's little appetite to see the United States embroiled in another conflict. And so that is why there is a general feeling amongst the American people that there is hopefulness that diplomacy will work and there won't be a need for the United States to go to war with Iran.
Yeah, Osama bin Javed, the big question now is whether diplomacy there in Geneva will work.
Can I just say, this man's scarf game? Incredible. Incroyable. Nice scarf game, sir.
What concessions can we hope for from both sides?
Well, you speak to optimists, there is an obvious off-ramp on the nuclear issue. Iran has not been able to spin a single centrifuge in the last 8 months since those 3 nuclear sites were hit. Iran has not been able to deploy any of its axis of resistance.
He did argue that, Liddy. I'm arguing that Elbridge Colby, in his strategic escalation plan, the economic side of conflict is in his calculations in terms of what can be done against China in escalation. I'm not arguing that he said that economic integration was good and worked. I am saying that the existence of economic integration is something that Elbridge Colby uses in his proposed escalation of how things work, of how things would happen if things were to escalate.
Fronts, if you can call them that. And Iran can talk about moving that fissile material maybe to a Russian state or an intermediary. So there are off-ramps on the table if there is a willingness to trust each side. But that...
You shouldn't trust him. Elbridge Colby is the Undersecretary of Defense Policy, and he has written the National Security Plan, the National Strategic Security, the National Security Strategy. Sorry, it's 4 a.m. It's 5 a.m. It's 4 a.m. He is writing the policy for the United States strategic defense. So that's why you should know him. Should you trust him? I mean, he's well liked by both sides of the aisle until he came out as a Trump guy. He's had relationships with both Democrats and Republicans. He's a super realist and he's super bought in on China. So all of this, which is the important thing, right? This administration is focused on China. So this engagement with Iran is about getting out of the Middle East.
That is the key missing element. Trust. None of these
Yeah.
sides trust each other.
That's what I said. So you've got yeah, you have no trust. I said this earlier. There's no point in repeating it.
Mechanism speaks about that because they can't even talk to each other and sit in the same room. And then there's the issue of both saying the same things. You heard the Iranian leaders talk about Iran is not going to build a weapon, and Donald Trump just last night talking about how he wishes that Iran would say there won't be a nuclear weapon. And as both
They
of
said
them are
that.
saying the same thing, it just goes to show that they're not able to convince each other
Yeah.
they actually mean what they're saying.
Yeah.
And there could be trust in this diplomacy that will keep them away from this brink of war, which could be disastrous, not just for these countries that are involved, but as the region has been warning as well, that this could turn out into a major protracted war that embroils the entire region.
This would be so
Osama
bad.
bin Javed in Geneva, thank you for now. Thanks also to Kimberly Halkett and Tohida Sadi.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture.
Got the full picture. So yeah, point being, this will not be like what happened last year if it escalates to war. And you don't want it to escalate to war. The red lines on the Iranian side are things to do with sovereignty, so control over its own military and its right to enrich uranium. Do I think that there can be a lot of compromises made on the uranium side? Absolutely. Do I think that any kind of limitation on ballistic missiles or military materials can be achieved? Probably not, because it will be seen as capitulation. Do I believe that an agreement can be made diplomatically in terms of a detente in the region? Yeah, I think that's possible. Do I think that will be enough for the United States? Hard to know. It needs to look like it's more than the JCPOA, which is why I propose economic integration, because that is something that Donald Trump would see as a good deal. Okay? That is something that Donald Trump could come back and say, in the same way that he did with Maduro in Venezuela, and you still have the Chavezista, how would we refer to that government? Chavista? Shava. Well, the thing is, no, the economic integration, Johnny Clueless, is more than Obama's plan, right? Because those were IAEA inspectors going into Iran. But this would be IAEA plus whoever is economically dealing with the nuclear side, the US side of a nuclear agreement, right? If America is invested in the nuclear program, as investors, they have the right to completely monitor the nuclear program. That's why economic integration there is such. But you say no way trade is going to be allowed without a regime change. Why not? Because they didn't change the regime in Venezuela. They just took out Maduro. It's the same regime. It's just a regime willing to cooperate. But the thing is, he feels emboldened, avocadorable, by that risk. He feels emboldened by what happened with Maduro. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Yeah. Iran? I don't know. I don't know what they're up to. I think regime change is a lot harder than what is this regime change that you're talking of? Because are you accounting for the 30 million people who support the regime and will fight for it? and the technologically advanced regime that has proven its willingness to kill its own people for its survival? Like, to what extent is America willing to put boots on the ground for regime change? And then to what extent? Because the problem that happens so often, particularly in the Middle East when it comes to regime change, is that when you have a long period of a tyrannical leadership, one of the main things it does is stifles opposition. So you don't have a political leader that has the institutional ability to take over in terms of the bureaucracy, the platform, the public support, which is why you often end up with war criminals as leaders who take over after a regime has, like when you look at Palestine, for instance, right? Like Yasser Arafat, Yahya Sinwar, these leaders always come from being military people because the only legitimacy they've been able to gain with the people is fighting the regime. So you don't have anyone who politically is in a position to take leadership of a country of 90 million people, right? So you are suggesting that you will fight a bloody war on the ground with an advanced country. That is willing to kill its own people. I just want to, if you can tell me what the plan is for regime change, I'm willing to hear it. But I think creating a Syria situation in Iran would be devastating to the region. That doesn't mean that Assad was a good person to have in charge. That didn't mean you support Assad, right? You don't need to. Where do we get the 30 million number from? This guy. I get it from... Oh. Atamoani. Institute for Peace and Diplomacy. That's when I last read about it. Wait. You think what happened in Egypt worked well with the Muslim Brotherhood coming into power? I know when I would have gone to Egypt, and I know I wouldn't go to Egypt now. I can tell you that much. Pahlavi has no Pahlavi doesn't have any internal support. You can't just have an external person that you prop up and be like, here's a leader for you guys. The son of the Shah. You're going to love him, right? Khomeini? It's just like, I don't know. If that's what you guys want, If you guys want to try and put in... the exiled prince of Iran. The last person who was... God, do I speak it? The last person who was secular and democratically supported in Iran before the Ayatollah was Massadeh. And look how that worked with the US. You can't just... I am not the Shah of France. Shah of France. What? I don't understand what's happening here. Abu Ghraib. I'm not... The Ghain? Abu Ghraib? I knew if we talked about Iran, people would be like, but how can... You have to support regime change. Even though, do you know who gets fucked the most by regime change? Iranians. It's the Iranians who'll die in this war. What, the way the world stepped up with Libya? Maybe you're in the wrong chat, Sean. Because it worked so well when they got rid of Gaddafi, right? Because he fucked the people and then, oh, what happened in Libya? How's Libya doing now? How are the people of Libya doing now? I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying you better have a long-term fucking plan. And I don't think that America wants to take responsibility for 90 million people on the other side of the world for the next 2 decades. They're already dying? I'm just saying, you guys are creating a false dichotomy between invade and do regime change, or the Iranian government kills its own people en masse. No one is... This isn't the situation. Okay, I knew this would happen. It's all fine. You guys disagree with me. You know what? Let me make it easy. You're right. Let's invade Iran. I think it's a really great idea. Because obviously, the only way to save the Iranian people is to completely destabilize the region and create a Syria in Iran. I think that'll do really amazing things for the Iranian people. And if they're worried about it, I think we should just put to the argument to them that, well, you're dying anyway. I think they'll find it really compelling. I think if we say to the Iranian people, oh, we're going to invade you, to gift you democracy, destabilize your region, plunge you into civil war, completely fuck you over the same way we've done with a bunch of other countries. But it's okay because you're dying anyway, so you want it, right? That's what you want, right? You want us to bomb the shit out of you until the many people who are faithful to the regime finally put down their arms, and then obviously we'll just put the Shah in because you guys loved him, right? There's no nationalism within Iran. There won't be any problem there. All right. Thanks, guys. You made me sufficiently mad. I don't know what the best option is for Iranians, but I know it's not foreign intervention because we know that doesn't fucking work. One thing I know is that the Iranian people are affected every single day by sanctions. So creating a situation where you financially support them so that they thrive and they're more able to resist their government, to integrate Iran, so that there's more options for the populace to fight against the regime, to create a stronger populace that isn't dependent on the government, to create an Iranian state that is forced to comply because of integration with certain things in the international system, will do better things for the Iranian people. But ultimately, it has to be their decision. Who am I in Australia to decide what the future of Iran should be for Iranians? All I can do is advocate that situations that keep them suffering be appeased. Sanctions punish the people. And if we can create a situation where a deal is made, that weight is taken off the people, and America gets a good deal in relation to the nuclear program and in relation to Iran's strategic posture in the region, I think that would be the best case scenario. All I can tell you for certain is that war is a very, very, very bad option for Iran, for Iranians, for Israel, for the region. Okay, I'm going to bed. Is anyone live? All right, guys. Good night.